ever been to like shark display, for example, at a public aquarium, and saw these beautiful rock kind of coral structures that you knew just couldn't be real, right? But they were just so impressive to look at? Well, that's what we're going to talk about on today's product showcase from American Reef. For fish tanks, say 500 gallons or less, one of the options that we have for those coral / rock kind of structures is something called a synthetic insert. And today, we're going to take a ride out to WetPets in McMurray, PA, and we're going to talk with Brian Tamuti, one of the owners, who has a fairly large tank set up with some beautiful fish, and he has those synthetic inserts. Now, before we go there, just a reminder, if you're watching this video and you find value in it, please head on over to AmericanReef.com, go to Reef Tutor, and please click the PayPal subscription. Basically, it's a $2 a month subscription that will give you access to hundreds of videos on reef keeping and behind the scenes, kind of what goes on at, at reef stores, fish stores, and that sort of thing. And it's well worth the money, and again, it's one way of supporting American Reef. Now let's head on out to go see Brian. Welcome, viewers, to another episode of American Reef. I'm Russ Kickle, and you are?
Brian Tamuti.
Okay, so tell me, Brian, what are we going to be doing today?
Well, we were talking, you were asking me about these synthetic inserts I have for the fish tanks.
Yep.
These are brand new, and they've been in the tank about a month. Mm-hmm. So there's still a little bit of diatom algae on them because my tank's cycling a little bit. But what they are is it gives you the look of a full-blown coral reef tank, but yet you could have non-reef safe fish in the fish tank.
Okay, so we're going to teach these guys out here then how to create a reef-looking tank without all the reef kind of issues there?
The issues, and some of the issues you'll deal with doing reef keeping, and I'm not talking anybody out of it by any means, but some things you got to add calcium on a daily, if weekly, if not daily basis. Magnesium, feed them strontium, iodine, have higher output lighting, and there's certain fish you can't put in there. So, there's pros and cons to doing either or. But if you just want to say, hey, I just want to have some really nice big saltwater fish. I want to have some neat big hermit crabs and some stuff that you normally cannot put in a full-blown reef tank. Some triggers and puffers and groupers. Now you can. Okay. With that same effect.
So let's stop right there. So we're going to say, so if you want a reef tank, a reef-looking tank with big marine fish, then stick around and watch this video. Okie doke, sir. So I come new into WetPets, right? And I say, man, I really want a reef tank, right? And you're going to ask me, how much time do you got to maintain it, right?
Yes.
Or tell me what's your rationale for pointing somebody this way?
Okay, the biggest thing I think would be not only cost, although this isn't cheap this way, but it is cheaper than buying live rock and all the corals and all the supplies you need to take care of a coral tank. But more so, I find, I've been open 20 years now. We just had our 20-year anniversary. I'll start waiting on the people and I'll tell them, well, look around the store, I'll come back to you and you tell me kind of which fish you're leaning towards. And 9 times out of 10, they like groupers and puffers and triggers and all these fish, yes, that you cannot put in a reef tank.
Right.
But yet they do like the corals. So I say, well, you got to do one of two things. You either like the corals better, so we could go into a full-blown reef tank, or do you really want those fish? If you do want those fish, then this is what we do, and then we lead them towards these inserts. At least that's the plan of mine that we just started doing by picking these up, this lineup. What it is, as you can see, it's, and the company I get these from actually do museum quality coral inserts. They do them for a lot of public aquariums and bigger time places like that. You can even, they have ones that are standard made that are a lot less expensive, but still just as beautiful, but they're just standard produced, manufactured in volume. Or you could pick out every single coral and every color of every coral on there, and which height you want, and length, and the whole works. It could go on and on, which I did here. This is all custom, which the price really shot up because of that, but
makes sense.
It was well worth it. I mean, if I had to buy enough live rock to equate which is in here now, plus that many coral pieces which are in here now, I'd probably be triple what I spent on this tank. So still cheaper in the long run. If you don't want to do the full-blown reef, not to mention you don't need high output lighting on these because they're synthetic corals. So, and you don't need to take care of them because they're synthetic corals.
So to me, that's just it. Because there's a lot of people that I talk to, like, okay, we want to set up a reef tank, and then, like, to me, I'm always asking about time.
Well, it is. You know what? Most families nowadays, and everybody knows who has kids, you're dropping them off here, picking them up here, and cheerleading and football and baseball, and you have a little bit of time left for free time with the family, and last thing you want to be doing is working on your fish tank. So it's gotten to the point with today's advanced filtration, which we've gone over in some of our other shows, and some things, your choice of doing synthetic corals, that it could be pretty hands-off as possible. I'm not going to say completely, but it's getting to the point where it could get close to not you spending a lot of time on your fish tank.
Okay, so the two things that we've heard so far, so you're starting up a system and you want the reef look, right? But you also want bigger fish. You want the not reef safe fish. So that's one trigger for getting into a system like this. The other trigger for this would be, again, time. Something that's a little less of a drain.
People that travel a lot because of work, even if they don't have kids in that, but they're out of town a couple days every week, and you can't get those coral feedings in or this or that, it's easier. So it's a number of different things: money, time, and overall expense, which would be money, I guess.
That's right.
And the selection of fish is what I was trying to say. So,
well, okay. So now, say your green field, so to speak, brand new tank. Right. Like you said, you can customize them, or you can basically
choose from what they have, and then you can mix and match it. Maybe one centerpiece where you cover your overflows custom. And then you pick some other ones that are already pre-made, which, is nice.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. How do you go about that design process?
Well, what I did really is, it's really neat. They actually take it to another level. Like first you pick your structures, and we'll send you pictures of your structure, just all in flat gray modeling. And you say, yeah, that's the structure I wanted. Then you could pick the type of live rock background you want. You want more sponges? They do more sponges. You want Caribbean rock? They show you, and we'll show you pictures. Caribbean design or Fiji design. You have more with pinks and purples, some with more barnacles and sponges. You could pick that background. Then you could pick which corals you want, and then once you pick which corals, there's different sizes of those corals you could pick, and then which color do you want that coral. So, I mean, when I say you design it,
And on the rock, for example, do they even get to the point where, say, like a Fiji versus Bali versus...
Yeah, if you want to do a theme-oriented tank with all Caribbean fish, you would use the Caribbean-style rock and corals that would grow naturally in there. If you want to really get into it that way. But what's neat too, they show you, they'll send pictures to me, which I'll show you. And if you don't like something, they'll show you first your structure, then you pick out your corals, they put it on, then they pick out the colors, and they'll show you pictures each way, and we say, well, I like that, but I don't like this. Even once it's already done, they can, well, move stuff around, change it, not with an additional cost. They really do work with you. They're a great company to work with.
So it's funny because when you say work, to me it sounds like, man, what a long, drawn-out process.
It does. When you do the custom ones, it is kind of drawn out. We're looking at from the time you actually start this, and this is counting right when you say, I want to do this. And going through the process of picking out your molding and then picking out your corals and your colors and the whole works, and then them building it and then it being sent to me, you may be looking at up to 3 months.
Okay.
So,
so it is a...
2 to 3 months. Now, if you buy their pre-done ones that are already standard made, which do look, I want to stress, they look not just as, they're not cheaper and they're just already, you're getting this coral, this color, and all that. Perfect example of this, and I take that back, I said this was all custom. Everything in here is custom except for this piece. This was a standard piece, and they call this the eel tunnel. You can see the hole in the front. They're good if you have eels in there. There's holes on both ends. The only thing I did to make this not custom was I did change. So it is a custom piece. I changed some of the colors.
But still,
but if you were just to order it, if you say I wanted just one of the regular pieces, you could get one that looks just like this. So you see, it's just as nice.
Actually, it's better. My hobbyists don't look anything like that. And they take forever to grow, right? I don't think anything scattered across. So if I'm starting one of these tanks up, then tell me all the components. In other words, we know that there's a certain look you're going to go for, right?
And another thing, just going back to looks, they sell pre-formed overflow covers, and this is one of their standard produced ones, made for the Aqueon filter covers. So yes, for the cutouts, the U cutouts, it's all done. It'll fit perfectly on your Aqueon overflow box.
Because that bothers me. It just does.
It is, and it'd be really hard to custom say, well, this little notch here and measurements, it's impossible. They do it standard.
Now, do they have, like as far as the Aqueon tanks, is there a minimum size?
Well, they do any height. You know, if you have the 75 gallon with an Aqueon overflow or the 90s taller, they have all the sizes standard.
Really?
So, it's not too bad. You do that.
So then you don't need to buy a 500-gallon tank, right?
No, we can do that in any size. And that's just like this eel tunnel. This was a standard size manufactured, and then they had a smaller one. I think it's small, medium, large, and extra large of every one of their standard pieces. So it's really user friendly is what I'm trying to say.
It sounds like it, right? Okay, so let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and say, okay, these are all the components. If we're gonna do, because I call this a modified, like fish only without live rock, right? Because you still get that same look. Okay, so we'll take a break and we'll do that. Okay, so we were talking components, right? So say a new customer coming in, right, and I want a 75-gallon tank, right? And again, this is going to be that modified Fowler kind of tank, right? I guess modified with fake coral. I don't know how you...
Synthetic.
Synthetic. Is that the official name?
What do they say? The profit etiquette is say synthetic.
Okay, so synthetic corals. Okay. So if I want a synthetic coral system, right? So a marine system with a synthetic look and feel, right? What are like kind of the components that you're going to need?
You mean as far as what?
We got a brand new hobbyist out there, right? And because remember, most of my viewers are kind of new guys. Right? And so these are guys who want the coral look, but they're kind of afraid to get into the coral. Right? How do they get into something like this?
Well, this would be real simple based off, say, if you are going to use the pre-manufactured pieces. We'll sell them, say, a 75-gallon tank. Has a built-in overflow because our store prefers to do that instead of hang on filters, overflow and do a nice refugium on the bottom, which we've talked about.
Like the ecosystems, right? And by the way, let me pause. That's ecosystems, link side. Look them up.
There we go. So we do that, and then we'll cover their overflow with one of their already standard synthetic insert covers. We can even sketch for them a look of the tank. Cover the overflow if it's a far left overflow. since that's going top to bottom on that side, then you may want something lower next to that, and then maybe something taller on the right-hand side.
Design.
Yeah, kind of design oriented to give them a structure that they may want. And some, if you look in here, I don't know how if the camera's picking up the right enough angles, but you see how the fish swim in and out of this. Almost like, have you ever seen stuff on TV, the Great Barrier Reef?
Yes.
You see them divers swim in and out. That's kind of the effect this can really give you.
Right.
Almost more so than live rock, because it's hard to stack live rock in positions like this without using...
that's right, it falls over.
Yes.
So you have to kind of put them on a glass.
Yeah,
or,
using putty, and even then it's hard. I mean, if you're going to ever use anything, do them with live rock. I like Julian Sprung's Aqua Stick.
Yes, that blue, man.
It's good, but it's
I was going to use that for my car, because you could almost,
it's unbelievable.
It is. It is really good.
Yeah, they actually use that stuff underwater for doing aquacultures.
Yes.
And coral starting new reefs and so on. His actual stuff, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that'll be another,
Yeah, that's another day.
That's right, we're shoving it in.
But no, once you get your structure down,
okay, well, you mentioned like live rock, for example. Like to me, when I hear live rock, I think filtration.
Yeah, right? You're right.
And like you said, you have your sump and all that sort of stuff. So, given the fact that this is synthetic, right? Does it hurt? Help? What?
I'm not going to lie and say it's as good as live rock because it isn't, because it's a brand new surface area and live rock's filled with older aerobic bacteria.
Right.
But it is a porous substrate, porous material, which is going to become filled with aerobic biological bacteria, and that's just the whole material, the body structure itself, let alone all the surface area of all the corals and that. So yes, it's going to be a big beneficial aerobic bacteria source for your fish tank.
Perfect. So it's sort of like the bio balls, only actually probably better, right?
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of surface area on it.
Okay, so you'll have this. You'll have your sump for your filtration.
Yeah. So you'll need your fish tank. You'll have your structures. We'll do your sump, which we prefer refugiums.
Right.
And then you'll need some substrate and your salt. And your heater, and I think you're ready to go. The nice thing we talked about before, you don't need high output lighting.
Right.
So yeah, you could buy pretty much our standard 75 tank hood light and stand, buy the inserts, get your filter going and heater, and you're ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm a new hobbyist looking at a rough price, right? We know that, like, say, a 75-gallon stand with a fluorescent light, what's that, around $500?
Yeah, probably just the tank hood light and stand standard is going to get you around $500 to $700. So depending on what stands and that you choose. Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
So we got 700 there, and then you got the ecosystems kind of.
Yeah, that one for that size 75-gallon tank would be around, I think, $800 to $900, $800 to $1,000.
Okay, so
that's up there, but that's your life support right there. I mean, that one's important.
Right.
Now, again, if you're doing salt water, and I believe we've covered this before, we highly recommend you do UV sterilizers too.
Right.
So that is another component. And what we try to do, to make it easier on the customer, and I know it's a little bit more expensive, we try to let them, if they've never done fish before, never had salt water at all, and are jumping into a decent sized tank like a 75 or larger, we do offer a delivery and setup fee, which will do that whole thing.
Right.
I hope that they're there that day so we can explain what we did and they fully understand their system.
Right.
Sometimes they even have us maintenance the tank because we do full tank maintenance, setups and cleaning once a month, whatever they want us to do. But sometimes they'll just have us come a couple months until they feel comfortable, and then they take over from there. So we do all that.
And as the new hobbyist is looking at this anyway, it just makes sense to them.
It's easier, but if they don't want to do that route, we do our very best to put together as much stuff here for them and explain as much stuff here too, so they don't have to.
Sure.
And I think overall, the way Ling designed those refugiums, they're pretty simple.
Right.
In through one area, through a bulkhead, and pumping back out. They look complex and sci-fi, but they're really simple.
And so, to your point, when you get to the dollars and cents, to me, it's always one of these pay me now, pay me later. And my time is valuable.
Perfect way of saying it, Russ. It is. I have so many people that either find out about us after the fact, which isn't their fault, and I feel so bad for them, or then I have some people that do come in, I tell them what I really recommend, and they say, well, I'd rather just start with this or that.
Right.
And they
and unfortunately, I was one of those guys. Right. So I should have taken that first $1,000 and just threw it away.
That's exactly, light it on fire. And they still spend, just like you said, they'll still spend $1,000, where I'm asking them to spend $1,500.
Right.
Or just rounded numbers.
I was that guy.
And then they lose 700 or 800 in fish, and then come rebuy the right stuff, and we have to rebuy all their filtration, and now they're $2,500 into the hole just to start back where I wanted them in the first place, and a lot less grief and aggravation. So it's really, that's why I know these videos you're doing for people.
That's why I do it.
Oh, it's fantastic what you guys are doing.
So what I was trying to get at is for the new hobbyist, components and cost, right? And so we knew that the components, number one, were obviously a tank setup. We said the refugium ecosystems kind of filtration. Then you said UV sterilizer.
Correct.
Right now, what's a UV sterilizer going to run roughly for like a 75?
For the 75, it'd be a 15 watt. You're only, well, not only, but probably $189, and that's for the best one you can buy, the commercial unit. There are other ones I have that are less expensive. I'm not going to say cheaper, because they're still good, but less expensive. And it's just going back to that whole filtration and everything. We don't have to take it to a refugium and all this high level we're talking, but that's just the best way we feel you should do it.
If you're going to be in the hobby, you're going to get there eventually.
Do it right, or don't do it all, and that's why people respect us and come here and listen to us, is because we spend their money as wisely as we can.
Well, I mean, okay, one of the stats that we know is a new reef hobbyist, for example, is going to spend $3,000 to $5,000 just getting into the hobby.
Pretty much.
So that's what we're looking at and saying, okay, so let's gauge this now. So if you're in the marine tank with the synthetic corals, where are you going to be?
Exactly.
But it sounds like you're already starting with the high-end gear, which is a good thing, right?
Exactly.
So we've got, roughly we're up to about $2,000, we'll say, with, tank, hood. Okay, so now if we're talking, the only thing now we need to add is inserts, lights, and fish. Fish, let's table that.
Because that's really personal preference, what size, what type,
and you get something like that,
like
beautiful tank with
Hawaiian
a
Mazo tank, that size nowadays is like $300.
Exactly, if you're lucky, right? That's right. You can't even find
we could get them smaller for $79, so it's a really broad range with fish, just like you said.
We'll table fish, right? So now we've got sand and inserts. Sand, let's just allow, whatever, $50.
Exactly.
So $50 for sand. Now, how insert-wise?
Insert-wise for 75, if they're buying pre-manufactured coral pieces, I would guess.
Again, it's a rough range.
If I had a guess on that, I'd probably say you'd spend about $1,000 if you buy 3 to 5 pieces.
Right.
Fully done and ready to go. From start to finish. I'm guessing it should be. I haven't done it yet because I'm just getting into this. I'm just going over my head some of the pricing I looked at in the book. So now there's some little pieces. If you start out real little, like I like doing oversized and top to bottom areas. Doing it the way I would do it, even with their standard produced stuff, it probably costs, I'm guessing, around $1,000.
But again, I'm looking at it. $1,000 means it is decked out like this kind of look.
Because if you take that back to, if you had a 75-gallon, we'd have you get at least 80 pounds of live rock at $10 to $12 a pound. You're at $1,000 just in live rock, and then you got to buy 50, 60 corals at $50 to $100 a pop, so it's like going back to where I said it's still cheaper, but it's not inexpensive, but it's less expensive than doing a full-blown reef.
Well,
and you brought up
time, right? I mean, that's
and it's instant, it's done. You build reefs over a year, 2, 3 years time.
I mean, how long is it going to take you to build a colony like that?
That's exactly
that's 5 years, right?
Absolutely.
Start off from this bracket, you can't afford a piece like that.
That's exactly right.
No, exactly.
So it is, and then just look on this one structure, you probably have 15 pieces of coral. So right there at $100 a piece, you could be at $1,500 just in this section of your tank. And doing it live rock. If you bought everything that size, live.
And that's where that when I said 3 to 5,000, that's where the 5,000 comes into it, right? And it could be a lot more.
Oh, it can go on and on.
Okay, so you have all that stuff. Now you go to set this up. Are you going to basically cycle it the same way? Tell me
Without live rock, it will take a little bit longer because that's already filled with mature live rock, living bacteria. In this, we have to grow it. But to speed that up, and it's again coming up with how many advanced things we have in this hobby nowadays.
Right.
We sell the Dr. Tim's synthetic, not synthetic, sterile, living aerobic bacteria, which is unbelievable. I mean, when we built this store and moved here from our old store, we bought that by the gallons to get this started, and we were able to completely be 50% stocked within 2 weeks of our systems running, which is unbelievable. We'd never be able to do that years ago before that hit the market.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I know a lot of people have a lot of success, right? Yeah. Even when they're culturing, like, you know, your bio pellets, you know, or the sulfur reactors. I mean, you name it. Every time you're culturing that bacteria, right?
Yes, it works fantastic. Yeah. So with that, and then once you get started and get going, then this stuff's really going to take over because of the surface area we talked about. So.
Okay, so cost-wise, we said, okay, roughly we're going to be about $3,000
to deck it out.
That's right, to have a high-end, right?
Yeah, high-end tank, filter, and inserts,
And then time-wise, to me, this is kind of
the nice thing.
Right, this is the important thing, right? Okay, so from the day one that I leave Wet Pets with, we'll say, the setup.
Yeah.
When can I start adding fish to that thing?
If we're doing the standard corals that I could get usually within a week to 2 weeks just to have it shipped here, 2 weeks tops, maybe a week.
Right.
We could set them out the door with the tank and everything, and then wait a week, get the inserts, set it up, add water that day, or they could wait till their inserts come in. We could deliver and set up and have everything set up and running the same day we bring it to the house and we leave your house. From that point there, you're probably looking at about, this is what people don't get. They always, and we do not rush things here.
Right.
I mean, the biggest other thing in this hobby, other than having good equipment, good filtration and all that, is being patient.
Right.
But what they don't understand is you can't get any aerobic bacteria established until you add something putting in waste to feed the bacteria.
Right.
So as soon as your pH and salinity and temperature is right, we add fish within days of your tank being set up.
Right.
But inexpensive, hardy fish, some chromis, maybe even some little angels or tangs or whatever. But not a lot, and not very expensive fish, and not very big fish.
Right.
So you are going to have, that's what's nice about this, doing the inserts also, your tank's going to look beautiful empty.
Right.
Let alone just adding a few fish to get started. It's going to look really nice. And then we wait from that point, which is days of setting it up. We add a couple fish.
Right.
And then from that point, about 8 weeks.
Right.
8 to 10. But we don't guess. We don't say, I think it's been long enough. We're good today. We are going to check your levels for you.
Right.
We have you bring in a water sample. What we're basically looking for is ammonia and nitrites, that whole nitrogen cycle. And if everything's good, we go ahead and add some more fish. And then after your second batch of fish, then after that, it pretty much gets free rolling.
So ultimately, it's still a marine tank.
Yes.
You're going to still have to cycle it, right?
Yes.
And so that process, whether you're going with live coral, or you're going with, the synthetic corals, it's still going to be 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, now with live rock, it will be shorter. It usually is about 2 weeks, 8 to 10 days. If you get a pound per gallon, we usually will cycle that tank and we can start rocking and rolling. So it is a little bit longer. But if we use the Dr. Tim's, even doing it this way, we could set up the tank, add a few fish, and add the dose of the Dr. Tim's, usually within 1 week past that. So you're almost just a week longer than doing it with live rock. We can't get it fully stocked, but we could get more fish than we normally could if you had the aerobic bacteria in.
So again, time-wise, we'll look at it, and so we're roughly 2 months into this, right?
Yes.
And now, if you have your reef tank, well, maybe it was able to be stocked a little bit sooner, right?
Yes. For fish only, though.
That's right. That's right. The key point here.
Yeah, it's going to take you a long time to add corals to equal what this is instantly from day one.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So when you have a reef tank, and now you're going to start adding corals, and we know in the reef tank, first of all, you can't even add these colonies.
Even this size. I mean, I can get them in, but they'd be outrageous price.
Right.
$300.
And they don't ship well. I mean,
they don't. Pieces get, when they're this size, they get broke, and they're just more expensive just because they tie up more space in the box for shipping. We pay per pound. So all the way around, and stuff that's been in nature longer and have grown to almost adult size, it's very hard to get them in captivity and used to eating our synthetic foods and other stuff instead of eating naturally filter feeding out of the water. So all the way around, yeah, it's like you said, if you start out with this piece as a frag, it would take you 5 years to get it to the size at least.
Right, and so to me, that's the point I want to stress.
Yeah,
when you're a new reef hobbyist and you want a marine tank, but you want to start off at the end game.
Yes.
Right. Then these synthetic corals are kind of that look that's probably best for you.
Yeah, for a novice, that's exactly what you want. It's going to be less expensive and no maintenance.
Right.
And also give you a wider variety of fish. I have the newer people that start always don't understand fully, and they want to come in and can I get this angel? No, it'll eat your corals. Can I get this trigger? No, it'll eat your shrimp, and so on. And so this gives them any fish you can get that'll get along with each other, of course, and still be able to have the reef look.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so now here's the next question. You have these inserts, right? What kind of maintenance are you going to, because again, we know maintenance on a reef tank, you're going to probably maybe 30 minutes a day and
that's exactly right.
And an hour on the weekend, maybe something like that.
You're exactly right.
Okay, so now in a regular marine tank with, like, say, the inserts, where are we at?
Maybe, first of all, if you have the right grazing fish, like chevron tangs or coal tangs or enough snails in there, zero maintenance. If you were really fanatic about keeping things spotless, you could pull these out and clean them. It depends on you know, every 3 months or something. I mean, it's much easier. Probably 1/10 of maintenance of what you'll do with a live reef tank, or 1/100th of maintenance. So yeah, that's a huge key there, big time.
Okay, so now with the, what kind of maintenance is involved, right?
Well, the only thing really is if you want to take them out and clean them. And if you did do that, there's a mild solution, and I don't want to tell the public something wrong, because you can bleach them with very mild bleach, and they say that they will not fade or lighten in color. People always want to ask me that immediately. But there was something else I know they said you could do using a lower pH water that you could use too, and I just can't remember exactly what it is right now. But basically, what either process would be removing these from the tank, sticking them in a, say, storage container, like a Rubbermaid type storage container, filled with water with either solution in there within a half hour, let them soak, take them out, rinse them off, put them back in a tank. So still, you got to do that twice a year. I think it's a lot easier than, like you said, a half hour a day and hours on weekends.
That's right. So now, how long have these synthetic inserts been in?
These have been in here for about, I think, 4 months, I believe. But again, they wouldn't even be this brown on there if I'm in a retail situation, so I have to have the lights on 12 hours a day. If I normally had someone cycle a tank with these in there, and that means breaking in that first 8-week period cycling, I would normally have them leave their lights off, so this diatom algae would not grow. So we had to go through the whole metamorphosis of brown diatom algae covering everything, and then my grazer slowly cleaning it back up, plus the levels getting back down to normal. So if I had the lights off and did it the way I would normally have my customer do it, these would look like the day I put them in there. And they still don't even look bad. I was going to say,
they still look beautiful to me. You still have the colors. The colors of the rainbow. And had all that.
And we do a film later. You'll even see that they'll even be cleaner next time.
Okay. So, you mentioned the point where you said you can put them in like light bleach and they won't fade, this, that. But what do they guarantee just over time for colors fading?
If you use the process, whatever doses they tell you.
Not even that, right?
You saying just them being in there?
Yes.
It won't happen.
Ever?
No.
So they guarantee that? Nice.
Yes, it won't happen. I remember specifically speaking to the engineer and the artist who did it, and they were telling me how this holds up because it's not painted on. The corals themselves are made with that color mold. Then on top of that, some stuff is painted on. I'm not going to say it isn't. The live raw color, the purples and the pinks and the oranges. But then when they're all done, they clear coat everything. And that's almost like having your clear coat on your car. That's what makes it not fade ever or not be affected by the cleaning process.
Okay, perfect. So again, talk about, you get about a good look long, right?
Yes. And then on top of everything we just said, reef tanks, even if you do everything right, you may have a coral sting another coral. One may fall and get killed. you never have it. This is it. You have these for life. So
I was going to say, you don't have to worry about that. Like for me, once a year, I do something stupid, right? Whatever that is, right? And one of the corals that I really like now is no
so
longer,
you've raised for 5 years from here to here and
from
get
a one-head Duncan to a 17
20
to
head
30 head. Now it's now it's all shriveled
and that's
up.
it. Can't happen here.
Right, exactly.
So that's pretty much everything, and I think it's enough things that would give a lot of people some things to think about to doing it if they want to get into that big fish type situation and everything we just said. Money, the selection of fish, easy novice type. Being able to set it up quickly. Right.
If I'm a guy really wanting one of these inserts, right?
Yes.
Can I call you? How does that work?
Absolutely. Just call us here at WetPets. Our number is 724-942-4442. Or stop in the store. We're right on Washington Road, 3695 Washington Road, and stop in and see us.
So I was going to say, since this is internet-based, and these thousands of viewers are in California or whatever,
they should just give me a call, and then I can tell them what the process is.
Okay, there you go. So then what we'll do is, again, if you're interested in any of this stuff, right? I mean, you've seen many videos here that again that we've done with Brian. That means discus setups as well as the coral inserts. Feel free to give Brian a call. And again, as always, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Great seeing you.
And again, thank you for watching American Reef, and stay tuned next week for our weekly reef keeping video brought to you by American Reef.